internationally trained art psychotherapist and holds a BA and MA degree in her speciality. She inspires professionals, both adults and children, to attain a work-life balance through the medium of art therapy and creativity. By pushing the boundaries, she facilitates creative workshops and courses for corporate teams and has run her own art therapy practice for 14 years. Samantha provides the nurturing space whereby adults can also be inspired to release blocks and discover their true potential. As words can be limiting in terms of self-expression, Samantha has devised a program, and many programs, and as well as a unique methodology, enabling those participating to learn new skills in communication through art. Through her creative techniques and her expertise, she's managed to help people manage stress, for example, by accessing both verbal and non-verbal expression. Her team-building workshops are known and reach the highest level. She has assisted banks, trauma units, and correctional services units, amongst many others. Samantha's praiseworthy achievements are numerous. She has coordinated HIV and AIDS, as well as life skills programs for 5,700 schools in the Eastern Cape just recently, and much of her work has been published. And she's also an acknowledged expert in her field. She founded the Art Cafe in 2005. She also runs both the Art Therapy and Art Cafe websites, including social media interactions. And so it gives me great pleasure to call upon Samantha Davis to address you on the topic, colour and children.
Hi everybody. First of all, thank you for a lovely, can you hear me? A lovely, inspiring introduction. And thank you for inviting me to talk here this morning. To start off, I actually have a confession to make. I love grey. And I'd like to tell you
today
why.
You're stepping out of grey.
As I speak, my walls in my lounge are actually being transformed from orange into grey right this moment. And no, it's not because of the book The 50 Shades. Grey and I go a long way back. I was asked to speak today on children and colour. Children all have colour likes and dislikes according to their stage of development, according to their personality and character. We're all a group of adults here, but we've all once been a child, and some of us are children and grandchildren. We all have a journey of colour preferences, which ultimately is ongoing in our life. It's connected to our personality, it's making a statement of who we are in the world, and this is our relationship with the world through colour. Sometimes the best illustrations are through one's own experience and through one's experience of one's children, because they teach us so much. So to start off, I'd like to start to share part of my journey and my relationship with colour. My colour journey began with my first love, green. Emerald green, to be precise.
We can't hear you.
Emerald green, as far back as I can recall. As a child, someone once commented to me that the emerald green shirt that I was wearing brought out my beautiful eyes. That stuck. For the first 25 years of my life, it was green and nothing else. I would never go near the pretty, girly, pinky colors. I classified myself as a tomboy. I think Picasso may have called that my green period. So after my first quarter of a century of green, I was in London completing my master's in art therapy. It was there that I first tuned into grey. Perhaps it was the weather. We never saw the sun much. But then again, a lot of people were wearing grey, so perhaps it was by default. Nevertheless, I loved my uniform of grey and black. When I first had my own first home, everything, but I mean everything, had to be in dark wood furniture. Dark wood colours, chocolate browns, maroons. Picasso would have called it my antique period. A couple of years later, I even painted some of the walls in orange, and that was to try to bring some light and spontaneity into it. When I was pregnant with my daughter Shayna, I went through my purple phase, or to be more specific, my lilac phase. Before Shayna was born, her room was equipped with bed, curtains, paintings that I had made, decorations, you name it, everything in purple. Even my previous 2 art therapy websites were in purple. In hindsight, I think I wanted a more feminine color, but just couldn't quite stomach the pink part yet. Then my little Shayna was born. She grew quite organically into pink, as most little girls do. Even the bedroom wall needed to be pink, a bright pink. Through my daughter, I found my way into more feminine colors. Our journeys even coincided for a while, Shayna and I both in pink. I always find it really interesting how we identify the gender of a baby through the color that they're wearing. If you envisage a mother pushing a pram with a baby in it, if we don't know the person, we stop and have a look. And if the baby's wearing blue and green, then we assume it's a boy. And if the baby's wearing pink or purple, we assume that it's a girl. Well, once I saw a baby in a pram, and it looked like a very pretty little girl, and she was dressed in pale yellow. So I commented to the mom, what a pretty little girl. The mom took offense to this, and she gave me a real look. The baby was a boy. For Shayna's 10th birthday, she told me that she wanted to go blue. The room now needed to be blue. I was shocked. I was surprised. I was also amused. After all, I am an art therapist, and I believe in the freedom of expression of color and self-expression. So blue it was, but this time it was just the curtains and the duvet. Shayna made a political choice. Blue is seen by society as a boy's color, and color is connected with identity. Shayna's always liked the opposite of what I like. And on purpose. When she was young and we were in a rush, I would take out and put together 2 outfits, and I'd ask her to choose one. She would first look at me quite sweetly and say, "Mommy, which one do you prefer?" And then sometimes I would point to the one that I didn't prefer, and then she would choose the other one. And it always worked like a charm. So Shayna was non-verbally telling me who she was in the world. She was affirming herself as a person with choice. She didn't want to be like all the other little girls in pink. She wanted to have her own opinion. People often stop me at school and shove a picture or painting under my nose and say, "What does this mean? What do the colors mean?" So there are some standardized colors which we can name and identify and think about here and try to find a meaning. For example, red. What does red mean?
Love.
Love,
Anger.
danger, anger, passion,
Warm.
heart, warm, Sunday.
That's what I see.
Synesthesia.
Sunday is red.
Synesthesia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what does black mean? Darkness, death,
Elegance.
sadness,
Elegance.
elegance, a wedding, a funeral. Right. What about yellow? Sunshine, bright, happiness. Friday. Depression.
Sunlight.
Sunlight.
Emotions.
Emotions.
Happiness.
Daffodils, warmth.
Statement.
A statement, the beach, the sun. So as you can see, everybody has their own subjective associations with specific colors, and it's really coming from what we associate it with and what we know. These can also be linked to society, to culture, to peers, our associations and beliefs, and what the colors mean. How often do you hear people in an art gallery saying, "That's an interesting picture, but what is it?" People have the need to name, to know, to name things according to our own frame of reference. There can often be some uncertainty around the unknown, and this uncertainty brings about some anxiety around what is it and the unknown and not knowing. The viewer may be moved by the image, but the viewer can't stay with the uncertainty of not knowing. There is always a need to know, to understand, to name, to identify. Once the picture is named and the meaning is reduced to a singular finite entity, the viewer may feel a little bit less anxious. However, the impact that it has on the image may in some ways be modified or simplified. I call this a reductionist approach when thinking about color and reducing it to a singular meaning. Imagine if there was only one color. Very difficult to imagine, isn't it? It seems quite impossible. Art is such an effective way of encouraging people to express and explore innermost thoughts and feelings. This can be really effective when people find it difficult to express themselves in words. Not only are there so many different colors available, but there are also so many shades and varieties of these colors. For example, if we think about art again, let's take red. A person can express red through thick, impasto dabs of paint, or a person can express red through thin, transparent, light watercolors, or from even pencil crayons, also a much softer, gentler version of the same color, and each can mean something so completely different. Children at school are taught to get things right. They go for realism. The grass is blue, the grass is green, and the sky is blue. So they might paint it blue. But what often happens is there's a tend towards realism, to get it right, because it gives more approval. I've often experienced children and adults in art therapy sessions spending ages outlining in perfect detail what they aim to paint, but taking so much time with the left logical brain of getting it right that they run out of time to actually paint the image. And that's the color, the fun part. I have a friend whose son only used black in the classroom. The teacher was worried. So the teacher called the mother in. They had a meeting with the principal and explored this. What came out was that the mother was an artist, and at home she often invited the boy to paint with her. But at home he was allowed to use every single color except black. So at school, this was his way of rebelling, perhaps against his mother, but he found a place and an outlet for the color that he was the forbidden color. Black here again is a political choice. The teacher reacted to the color black. If it was blue perhaps or pink perhaps, it may not have caused so much excitement, or it may not have been stigmatized as a potential issue. Because black is often associated with danger, with anger, with violence, the dark side. But actually the boy was fine. When there's too much difference, then adults get worried. But instead of having preconceived ideas around what colors mean and what objects or symbols mean, which really reduces the meaning to a singular entity, what we can do as adults is to be curious, to ask questions, rather than assuming that we know what it means. When I'm asked to name or identify colors or objects in pictures, I always explain that my main source of reference is through the actual artist itself. And I would encourage people to ask questions. What is it? Tell me about it. What is that color? How did you get to that color? What could that color mean? The child doesn't consciously have to know the answer, but it's an opportunity to think about things together, to open their capacity for using their imagination. Colors in art therapy and in life help people to tell stories, to express themselves, especially when it's difficult to find the words. Picasso said that every child is an artist. The problem is to remain an artist once they grow up. So the use of color provides an opportunity to explore, to experiment with, to test out ideas, to make choices, to be creative and spontaneous. It's quite like free association in psychoanalytical psychotherapy. The client lies on the couch with their back to the therapist and free associates. The client says whatever comes to mind,